Hey Shackers, it's time for another episode of This Week in Switch 2. I'm your host, Asif Khan. I'm CEO, Editor-in-Chief, EIEIO, here at Shacknews. That stands for Extremely Intelligent, Extreme Intelligence Officer, because there's a deficit of intelligence here, especially in the United States of America. With OpenAI making deals, buying 10% of chip companies that make game console chips, that's always great. But yeah, I'm joined by my usual co-hosts. I have news editor Donovan Erskine here.
Hey, what's up?
And I have our long reads editor, David Craddock, here.
Hello, hello.
So, David, I lost to you in a Mario Galaxy Super Race, Super Challenge, right?
Yeah.
And I saw some interesting news in the world of Mario Galaxy speedrunning. Apparently, these new remasters on the Switch 2 specifically, uh, they load faster, or there's like certain frame speeds that are different. That the new world record is on the table for both games. So there's literally like a mad dash going on in the speedrunning community to like
Huh.
knock off like 10 seconds off of the world record or something.
That's pretty cool.
We were at no risk of doing that during our
No,
stream,
no.
as I am still shaking my fist at Gigalacatu. But yeah, we're gonna kind of just jump into what we've been playing lately. I think it's a lighter week for news, at least at this point in the week. We're recording this on Monday the 6th, which means only 86 days remain in the reign of Doug Bowser.
There it is.
I have
There
found
it
a
is.
way to create content out of Doug Bowser retiring, David.
I know. I see it.
And 86 days. Which means you have 86 days to put Link's Awakening on Nintendo Music. Like, what the hell? I went to Nintendo Music today because I was like, I want to hear the theme from Link's Awakening. I love that song. Not there.
Huh.
So I settled
It
for
is
Zelda
odd.
2, which I also love the theme for Zelda 2. That's different. Zelda 2 is this weird, bizarro Zelda game in the canon.
I bet they're holding a lot of stuff back for next year because next year will be the 40th anniversary of Zelda.
Oh, yeah.
So they might be holding back a lot of stuff, including soundtracks.
And you got the Zelda movie in 27 coming up, so
Yeah.
but they
So
are kind of listening to us. They put out the Mario Galaxy soundtracks on Nintendo Music over the last week. So like there's a lot of music there, which is funny is one of those things you mentioned in your review on the episode last week that you can listen to the music from the game in the game. They have like a jukebox. At this point, Nintendo should probably put jukeboxes in every single game they ship,
yeah.
because
Yeah.
I think, and, they kind of did in Bonanza too, Donovan, with like your little, what are those
The
called?
getaways.
The getaways. You have that
Yeah.
little vinyl, with a megaphone on it, like old timey. So yeah, you can listen to DK music inside of DK, and obviously they've released some of the music on Nintendo Music. They're drip dropping all over the place though.
Yeah. In another universe, Nintendo Music would have come out and it just would have had like 250 like soundtracks on it at the start. It would have been all the games you're looking for, and then maybe they would have like cleaned up, whatever they were missing, but that's not how Nintendo does their business. You're gonna wait and you're gonna beg and get a drip drop of soundtracks over the course of the next several years.
I mean, it's part of the Nintendo Switch Online subscription, so I'm not shocked
Yeah.
that we are witnessing yet another drip drop from Nintendo. But man, it's tiring at times. But it creates an opportunity for YouTubers out there who capture music and upload them. So it's there's an ecosystem just based around that on YouTube, right? Like taking Nintendo songs and uploading them. And like when I got here at Shacknews, Nintendo was one of the most litigious copyright striking companies on earth, where they would pull all that stuff down or copyright claim it. They're actually kind of the most open now with music, at least. If I'm in a situation, I edit a lot of vertical videos here at Shacknews. If I'm in a situation where I have a vertical video that goes over a minute and I need video game music for it, I usually go with Nintendo Music because they're not going to strike it. Whereas like Square Enix or some of the other companies that have like iconic music, if you use like over 59.5 seconds of a song, it's either going to get blocked or it won't even be allowed to be uploaded, or you could get struck. So it's a dangerous game that I have to play. But oddly enough, Nintendo went from being like one of the most ferocious companies on when it came to YouTube policies to now like one of the more open ones, which is interesting because now they have this competing platform where they post their music. So you would think this would be the moment where they start bringing the hammer down again, but they haven't. But yeah, I've been listening to Nintendo music on and off pretty much since it launched. You know, it definitely pulls me back in with those push notifications you send me screenshots of from time to time, David. Like, you're like,
Yeah.
hey, Galaxy's out. I'm like, oh, okay, I'll listen to Galaxy again. Uh, I keep coming back to the Donkey Kong Bonanza soundtrack, Donovan. Heart of
Yeah.
Gold. I think Heart of Gold's a great song. So I throw that on from time to time, and I also just I go into the Zelda, to the different Zelda games. Zelda 2 has been in my rotation more than anything lately. That game, it's got a bad rap, man. Like I feel like that's the one I would like to see a 2D remake of.
Yeah, that game does have a bad rap, but it's definitely could call for some quality of life improvements. Like that game is really grindy because you have to get XP.
Mm-hmm.
Also, if you there's an item in each palace, as you would expect from a Zelda game, but sometimes you can leave palaces without getting the item. And when you leave a palace, when you kill the boss and leave the palace, it turns to stone
Yeah.
and you can't go back in. So you do not want to leave without getting the item in that palace.
No. Yeah, you're right. It is it's brutally difficult. And
Yeah.
you're right. Some of the design decisions are just frustrating, but yeah,
It's a great game though.
it was in
Sword
that.
fighting. Man, the sword fighting in that game was like for its time, it was really good.
Yeah, extremely deep. And it influenced Hollow Knight. It influenced Silk Song,
Ocarina of
obviously.
Time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it's definitely a bizarro Zelda game in the whole franchise's history. I feel like
Yeah.
both Mario 2 and Zelda 2 were very different when it came to both of those franchises. Obviously, like Mario 2 was like a reskin of a different game. But like they didn't have religion about these franchises at that point because they were like brand new. So like, yeah, sure, let's do whatever. Like we'll make another gold cartridge. It'll be great. The kids will buy it. And end up
Yep.
being brutally difficult compared to the first Zelda. But yeah, Doug Bowser, 86 Days, Link's Awakening. What are you doing? That's a great song.
Yeah.
There's a lot of great music in that game. I just love Game Boy music in general. Also, like, what I think's really funny about like the Game Boy soundtracks that they've uploaded, they're all very short because those cartridges had like not a whole lot of storage on
Yeah.
them.
Now here's the thing, Osif. Do you want Doug Bowser to upload the original Link's Awakening soundtrack or the Link's Awakening remake soundtrack?
Why not both?
Why not both?
Huh?
Indeed.
I'm just saying, you have one that's for sale, right? On
Right.
your eShop. This would be that synergy that you guys are all looking for. That's why Mario Galaxy is on there this week. But at the same time, you have the history. And also just, it's probably like 15 megs total to upload the soundtrack for the Game Boy version. I also just, I love the chiptune nature of Game Boy music. Like, there's musicians still making music with the sound fonts from Game Boy, right? Like it's that iconic when it comes to the chiptune scene, when it comes to retro game music. So yeah, and like I know Donovan's wanting these games to be ported or released on Switch Online, but the Pokemon games have amazing music on Game Boy as well, and it would be mighty
Yeah, they
fine.
do.
It would be mighty fine to have all that Pokemon music eventually drip drop onto there. I don't know what's stopping them.
Would be nice. Would be nice. I follow an account on Twitter that just posts random Pokemon OSTs every day, and so many times I'll just stop and listen to one in full. I'll just like leave the tab open, playing the song while I work. Great music. All
Yeah.
these games.
And we were making a vertical video, surprise, surprise. And it was based on that overview trailer that we got for Pokemon last week, where you saw that the Alpha Ghastly in the cemetery.
Yeah.
And I dug up what was it, Lavender Town soundtrack for it.
Yes.
And I obviously had gushed previously about DJ Pikachu's performance of Lavender Town, but the original song's outstanding. Like it's
very good.
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
God, there's so much good music in the Pokemon franchise that should also live on that Nintendo Music app. So, Doug Bowser, 86 Days, Clock's ticking, buddy. What do you want your legacy to be at Nintendo? 2 CNBC interviews and that one Nintendo Direct presentation? Or do you want to be the guy? I guess technically, was he the guy? Yeah, he ushered in F-Zero 99, so.
He did. That was under his watch.
But why isn't that? Perfect example. Why isn't that on Nintendo Music?
You'll get it on a random Wednesday in the next, like, 12 months.
I'll take it. Anyway, yeah, I have been playing Nintendo Music on and off. I think it's a great app. I've said it before. I think it's their best mobile app they've ever made. And that's even considering Fire Emblem Shadows, which apparently I was complaining about it. I didn't think I was complaining about it. I was just observing and reporting the awkwardness of the announcement. But, you know.
Right.
I found that internet commenters they're triggered by my takes. So I'm sure just me saying that will get clipped into a vertical video that will then generate tens of thousands of views. But anyway, if you found this podcast through the series of vertical videos, hi. Welcome. It's not just a hot take generator. This isn't first take, Donovan. This is This Week in Switch 2.
No, but we've all had our takes now at this point. We've all had our flammable takes that have, caught on with the masses.
David and his Donkey Kong Bonanza take. You and your hatred of the Mario Kart World roster. Me and everything I say, apparently. But yeah, it's lovely to have new people here discovering the podcast. So yeah, shout out to everyone there. And also the audio listeners. If you're listening to us on the various podcast platforms, thanks. And welcome back in some cases, because some of those folks were Shackcast listeners too. So David,
we were talking about what we've been playing, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say. So what have you been playing lately?
I've been playing Mario Galaxy 2. I'm still in the mood for it. Our race just kind of intensified my love of that game.
Yeah.
Are
you trying to 100% it, or what are you doing?
I don't know if I'm going to do 100% because there's some. So, every level has like 2 or 3 forms, which I really do like. Like in Mario Galaxy 1, they'll alter stages a bit depending on the star you're going for. But Mario Galaxy 2 just completely upend stages. Like they can be almost unrecognizable depending on the star you're seeking. And I have like 40 some stars now.
Okay.
And I don't think I'm 100% it because, like I said, I don't like all the level forms, but I might. I don't know. Right now, I'm just trying to beat the game and see what I can see. I always look for secrets because every level has a comet medal that causes prankster comets to appear, which also change up level design. And I just like getting the comet medal because it tends to be hidden on the levels, and I just like seeking out secrets.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I'm just really enjoying that game. I love Mario Galaxy 2. It's up there now with my favorite 3D Mario platformers. Like, it had been long enough that I kind of forgot how much I enjoyed it the first time around.
I think it's outstanding. The level design in it is, like you said, it's mutable. They don't have this religion about, it has to be the same level. They don't have the constraints of like a Mario 64 or even a Sunshine.
Or even a Galaxy 1.
Yeah, like even the Galaxy 1. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I think you put it perfectly in your review, how they kind of created a toolkit and they mastered using it with Galaxy 2. I think it's a good time to mention that we have a taco bet.
I was going to bring that up. We do have a taco bet.
This is now like the place to record such things when they're Nintendo related, right? So
yeah.
The bet for the folks at home, we have a Super Mario Galaxy movie coming out next year. I believe that the Super Mario Galaxy franchise deserves a third entry. So the bet is 10 tacos, right? Which that could be worth thousands of dollars by the time this bet comes to fruition. 10 tacos on the line. I am on the side of Super Mario Galaxy 3 will be released by 2028. David is on the other side, betting that it will not happen before 2028. So, Donovan, what do you think?
I lean David's side of this. I think it's very realistic that we could see a new Mario platformer by then. Galaxy 3 is a bit wishful thinking, just given their history, but I don't think... If I had to bet, I'd say no. But it's possible. If it's possible. If there's one franchise, like sub-series that they'd go back to that's been dormant, It'd be Mario Galaxy, I think, but I wouldn't bet tacos on it.
Well, here's why I think it's going to happen sooner than people think. Because, we're all bummed out. Some people were bummed out that Donkey Kong Bonanza was, EPD, like the team that's known for making 3D Mario games. But Nintendo has, like, doubled the amount of developers they have on staff in Japan. They built a giant facility next to their other one in Kyoto. Isn't it possible that there were, like, two teams working on different games at the same time?
Yes, but one of them is not Mario Galaxy 3.
Damn. That's fair. That's fair. It's fair.
No, it's totally possible. I don't think they're just starting a new 3D Mario. Like, no way.
Yeah, there's been preliminary work, and I there's no way that since 2017 when Odyssey came out, they're just now like, hey, what should the next 3D Mario be?
Yeah, like in 2025, after
that
shipping,
ball's rolling for sure.
Yeah, after shipping Switch 2, it's like I think they want it to be great, right? And I think they came out swinging in 2017 so hard for the fences that they're like, I don't think we can ever do that again. Like I don't think it's possible to do a Breath of the Wild Odyssey year.
Yeah.
I think that's a very hard thing to do, and I think they did it because they were under duress at the time, and now they're not. Like, their back is not up against the wall. The system is selling very well, and people seem to be happy with the games that are out. And we're getting Pokemon in just less than, it's like 10 days.
Yeah, a week from Thursday. It's October 16th is the release date, so that is coming up.
So, like, we got a big, high-quality Pokemon game. We got Metroid still coming. And I know both of those are, like, cross-generational. But then, we had Donkey Kong Bonanza. We had Mario Kart World. Yeah. I actually played some Mario Kart World over the weekend. Got back in for the 1.3 update. Like, I think some of our maps team, the Shack Maps team, was disappointed when they saw the update, because now it shows you on screen all of your P-switches that you have completed. Which, honestly, has made it way easier for me to check off which ones I have completed on Shack Maps. So I'm still using Shack Maps to keep track of those things and also to discover new ones. But yeah, I gave it a shot. I haven't played it online yet because I'm not the biggest, hey, I want to play random people in Mario Kart World online. I'd rather play with friends or whatever. And if I am going to play a competitive racing game online on Nintendo Switch 2, it would be F-099, obviously. But yeah, I did give Mario Kart World a few hours of my time. I'm still going around and finding P-switches. I don't enjoy every P-switch. Some of them are kind of ridiculous, but yeah, I think it's... People who say there's not enough content in that game are ignoring the P-switches, in my opinion. There's like 391 of those, and if you like them or not, at least there's like... That's a lot of stuff to do in-game that doesn't require you going online. So yeah, I've been enjoying that quite a bit. And then yeah, in between my card sessions this weekend, I fired up this little indie game called Hollow Knight Silk Song. Yeah. You're not gonna see any of my gameplay online because I'm pretty god awful at this game. I'm bad. I'm terrible at it, but I'm getting better. I love how you just kind of stumble upon bosses in that game. You're just like minding your own business, and then you're like, oh crap, there's a boss. And yeah, I defeated the Moss Mother. Obviously, I got my first map. And I had you had to decide which map to buy. So I bought the Marrow map instead of the Moss map.
That's the first proper main area, so that you made a good choice there.
Okay, because I was like, I don't want to buy the Moss map. I'm already kind of at the end of the Moss area, I thought. But it seems like any Metroidvania, like it definitely intertwines the different biomes. Thing I noticed from the first one to the second, like Hollow Knight to Silk Song, they amped up the art style big time, David. Like this is their use of foreground and background in the level design, I think, is materially better than the first game.
It's really good.
Not that the first game looked bad or anything. I just think they've had more time to kind of craft these worlds. And yeah, I'm impressed by it visually. The gameplay is outstanding. It's exactly the level of precision I want in that kind of a game, in that kind of a platforming game. I do enjoy the platforming aspects of it.
Yes.
It's kind of the perfect Switch 2 game, like in my opinion, because it's infuriating at times. So it's like pick it up, I pick it up, I play it for like 5 to 20 minutes, something stupid happens, I shut it down and I'm on with my day. Like it's like Celeste in that sense, right? Like where Celeste would be infuriating, you get on like one room and you get stuck and you just kind of like put your Switch down and you're like, I'll come back to it later. uh Hollow Knight's become that, or Silk Song's become that game for me on the system right now. Where like I was doing the same thing with Donkey Kong, I would say, but like now that I've finished Donkey Kong, and I don't know about the whole epilogue thing, Donovan.
Didn't care for it.
I only did the first, the Kong Elder one, and
Okay.
I am I supposed to do that for all 5 elders or whatever? Is that?
Every other Hell's one, yeah.
And then, mild spoiler, like the payoff is that we get like a song, right?
There's like a performance thing, yeah.
Is it a song that I haven't heard?
Um, I don't know. I don't know. It's hard because a lot of the Donkey Kong stuff is like old songs that I didn't catch
Okay,
because I haven't played a lot of the older ones. It could be.
sure, interesting.
Um,
That's the
but I
one
like
part.
those platforming challenges. I thought they were fun.
They're fine. I just, when I go back to that game, I'd rather play Emerald Rush at this point. Which I think is actually, it's more designed for me. It's just beating the crap out of stuff and smashing rocks with rocks, which that's my favorite part of that game. But yeah, I haven't really played much of that lately. But yeah, I am enjoying Silk Song to the extent that I can. I also kind of suck at it, so I understand that I suck at it, and I'm trying to get better. I haven't lost, I don't know, like the whole Souls thing, you know, like where when you die, you have to go back and get the, was it like a, it
The
looks
beads.
like yeah, like it's like a spider web full of beads or whatever.
Yeah.
So far I haven't lost anything, so I don't feel like I've been punished as much as like a Dark Souls game would have beaten it out of me by now. But yeah, I'm enjoying it. I'll keep playing it, and I think it's definitely deserving of like one of the. It's gonna be in the top 10 games of the year, right? Like that's.
Oh yeah. I think it'll also dominate our indie list, our indie games of the year as well.
Did you see Ozzy last week? He's
Yes, it's between that and Hades too, I think.
yeah, but talk about two bangers. Like really, really good games. I haven't had a chance to play Hades 2, but I've watched a decent amount of it. I also suck at that game. Surprise, surprise. But yeah, I the first one at least. But I
I think
appreciate both of them.
everybody sucks at Silk Song at first though, like I did.
Yeah,
Even carrying forward all of my Hollow Knight experience, there are subtle differences in the way the characters move and attack. Like in Hollow Knight, you would do like a downward slash that you could use to kind of pogo off enemies, like in Zelda 2. In this, you can do a downward slash, but it's diagonal,
yeah,
which completely changes your movement and how
yeah.
you want to approach it.
It's like Symphony of the Night, right? Uh,
Mhm.
yeah. No, yes, I felt that instantly, and I was like, damn, I missed the down slash because I was better at that. I got used to it, but no, I think it's cool. I think Hornet's a good character, and the narrative's kind of interesting. I love the creepy singing that some of these characters do. It's like you're like, you know, you're above a character and you hear that like weird singing going on. You're like, okay, I guess that's coming from down there. The audio and music design, I feel like took a step up in this one too. Once again, Hollow Knight's got outstanding soundtracks as well. It just is like everything has been turned up a notch from the first game, and it's great. So I enjoyed the first game. I'm enjoying this one, and yeah, I think it's. I wouldn't be surprised if it shows up in like the top 5 games of the year, not just indie lists, like actual just games of the year.
Yeah.
Dom, you haven't been playing anything on Switch 2?
Not since our last episode. I've done some Switch 2 adjacent things. I participated in an event for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet that I'll talk about at some point in today's episode. But I haven't been jumping into anything lately, but I have a feeling that'll change in the coming weeks.
Well, it's not necessarily a game that you played, but it is a game on Switch and Switch 2. You went to that
Mhm.
Stardew Valley Symphony of Seasons concert. How was that?
I did. I went to the show in Washington, D.C., and it was awesome. It was my first time ever going to a video game concert. I went with a couple of friends, and then we met a couple of more friends who were also there that we didn't know were going. And yeah, they just played music from the Stardew Valley OST, which is of course composed by Concerned Ape. And it was just such a super wholesome event. They did the thing where they put like footage up on the screen of the game, and it's the Symphony of Seasons. So you start in the spring, which is where Stardew begins. You start in spring year one, and they just take you through a full year in the valley. You go from spring into summer into fall and winter, and they hit a lot of the events in there, like the egg hunting festival, Halloween. I forget all some of the Stardew names for these. But what I loved is that there are a lot of like Easter eggs and references for fans of the game. Like, for example, there's an event in Stardew early on, it's either in spring or summer, where you guys go down to the beach and there's a big like stew, and everybody submits one item to throw into the stew, like a vegetable or a fruit. And depending on which item you put in, there's like a bunch of different reactions you could get. You could put something like gross and everybody will be disgusted. And like the governor comes down to taste it, and it's this like big moment. And there's a secret outcome you can get if you can get the mayor's shorts, his shorts, which are located in another villager's home, which there's a whole storyline there. You can find them, and if you put them in the soup, there's like a unique cutscene you get where the governor's like, "What is this?" And the mayor's like, "Oh my God, how did those get in there?" And that's the one they chose, like to play in the background during the scene, and everybody laughs. They show a lot of the heart events, which are like the specific cutscenes you get when you progress the relationship meter with like different characters. And every time a different character popped up, Sebastian, whoever, like people would, you'd hear like the subset of people like screaming that love that character. They showed, they had these like animated cutscenes that aren't actually in Star. They were made for the concert that would pop up, where they were just like artist drawings of like the farm throughout different seasons. You see covered in snow. You see like the characters walking back and forth through the paths. It opened with a video from Concerned Ape where he kind of thanks everybody. He talked about working on Stardew. We already knew this because I think he did it at the first show, but he confirmed that a 1.7 update's happening.
Yeah.
He says, the book is never closed on Stardew Valley, which I thought was an interesting quote from him. And then he showed like a little hit from Haunted Chocolatier. Couldn't tell if it was stuff we'd seen or not, but he teased that one as well. But it was just super wholesome, man. And just hearing that music again, it made me want to like take out like my Switch and just play it on mute and then have like the orchestra in the background. Because Switch was like where I played Stardew Valley for the first time. It was, I want to say 2017 when I was in college. I was not a very social person in college. I spent a lot of time in my dorm room watching movies on my laptop and playing Stardew Valley on my Switch. So I think it was around 2017 where I discovered it, just kind of on a whim. The game had already been out for a year. I didn't really know it was that big of a hit yet. But I just started playing on my Switch, and I was like, "This is like one of the best games I'd ever played." It was my only, like farming sim outside of like I don't know, maybe like Harvest Moon for a couple hours at a friend's house. So it was just like this whole new world. And then like getting to meet and learn about all those characters and just them having schedules and like this guy's always at the store on Tuesdays at 2 p.m. and like this woman goes down to the beach to fish on Thursday mornings and you can only catch this fish in the summertime or in this river once the sun goes down. I had never played a game that like did that to that degree. So there was something really magical about it. And obviously now I've gone on to play Stardew everywhere. I played it on Xbox, I played it on PC, Steam Deck, all that. But it's a special game. It's one of my favorite games ever made. It's been a big year for my Stardew Valley love. I got to meet Concerned Ape at GDC and told him how much I liked the game. Getting to go to the concert, my first video game concert. I'm like, I think I'm getting close to starting that game back up again. I've got a save that I haven't touched since last year that I think I'm gonna fire up in the relatively near future. But very special experience.
Nice. So yeah, like you said, you played like a couple of hours of Harvest Moon, but this is like Stardew's the first game that you have invested like over 100 hours in a sim like that, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
That's
Yeah,
different.
it's what made me a fan of that genre. Yeah.
That's a whole different vibe when you're
Mhm.
you're fully immersed in a game and you go through all the seasons and you get used to that day and night cycle. Yeah, from the clips you sent us, it looked outstanding and
Yeah.
fun. I noticed that they're performing in multiple cities simultaneously.
Yeah.
So there must be like multiple orchestras being deployed across the world to play this. That's exciting. Uh, I wish that the Zelda concert got to do this last year because I would have gone to that kind
Yeah.
of thing. I know Final Fantasy has done this before, but yeah, like I feel like the Mario Kart band, they could go on tour, and I think that would be
Yeah.
awesome. Although, like,
I want Pokemon. They did a Pokemon one a few years ago, but I think it was a world tour, so I think we only got a small handful of US
yeah,
performances. But God, if they ever do that again, I'll drive hours to see that.
I would do that for DJ Pikachu, maybe.
I saw video games live like years and years ago. That was pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Have you
Yeah.
ever heard of that, Donovan?
I don't think so. No.
So it's a symphony that plays all sorts of video game themes. So like they might go from like Mario to Zelda to COD to whatever, right? And they'll show gameplay on screen, but then they'll also have a live performance on a stage as kind of an extension of the music and what you see on the screen. So it feels almost like a play that you watch with the video game soundtrack in the background almost. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I don't know if they still do it because it was headed by Tommy Tallarico, who's now kind of an infamous figure in the industry. He's
Yeah.
gotten in a little
Yes.
trouble over the years, but you know,
Yikes.
video games live is still a really special experience.
No comment.
What Donovan was saying, I'm reminding you of that.
No, for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, I think it's cool that like I don't know. There for me, like I was talking to my brother about it this weekend. Like my love of electronic music came from my love of video games because you know the '80s, David. Like
Mhm.
so many amazing soundtracks were born out of the NES
Yeah.
and Atari even eras. But like Sega, you look at like like I may not like every Sonic the Hedgehog game, but I certainly will listen to the music from every Sonic the Hedgehog game. They have outstanding music. Nintendo obviously with Zelda, that gold cartridge. I fell in love with video game music right then. Mario, but even like just like Spy Hunter, like you think back to like the '80s arcades and how important music was to that too. Like I feel like electronic music and video game music have had this similar evolutionary path where the synthesizers kind of informed what they were able to do going forward. But like what folks like Koji Kondo were able to do with like an 8-bit universe, like still blows my mind. Like still
Same.
you look at like the sheet music or the MIDI files of these NES games and they're as complicated as some of like the best jazz songs and stuff. It's fun to see video game developers and publishers like celebrate their music with concerts and experiences for fans. And yeah, Stardew Valley. This is the second concert tour they've done. Like so, it's
Yeah.
it's like that big, which is awesome. So I played a game that's not on Switch that I think should be on Switch too, you guys.
Mhm.
It's called Rematch. So I finally got around to playing this, Donovan. I didn't play it on my old PC because my old PC was ass, but now I have this 5090 GPU and I want to put it to its paces through its paces. So I fired up Rematch, which is from Slow Clap.
Yeah, the Sifu devs.
Which, yes, strange. Like, okay, so on paper, I played soccer, like all the way
Yeah.
through, you know, not like pro, not semi-pro, but like, you know, rec leagues in college and stuff. Like, so I played soccer from when I was a kid to when I was in my 20s. And this is one of the most interesting soccer games ever made. Like, the level of depth to the gameplay is really impressive. Where it's like it's in third person perspective, David, and like you basically have the controls of a first person shooter almost. Like where you're aiming, like you can be running this way while aiming that way kind of thing. Uh
Mm.
there's you can move the camera around yourself. There's like squaring up on defense. There's also, I would say, the best goalie control mechanics ever in a soccer game. So like I have a lot of nice things to say about this game. But then it kind of is, I think I need to play this with people I know. Cuz it like everyone
Yes.
told me this is Rocket League but soccer,
It's Rocket League with people.
which is like Rocket League is soccer with rocket powered cars. So it's not Rocket League, but it's soccer. It's soccer, but it's a 3 on. It starts you out in 3-on-3, right? Which is
Yeah.
the most popular mode in Rocket League. But the difference is like I haven't played Rocket League in years, but I could pick up Rocket League and just match with random people, and we could actually win, right? Like you don't need to be able to talk to people in Rocket League to win. I feel like this game resembles soccer in that you really do need to communicate with your team and work together. And if you're by yourself matchmaking with two other randoms, I found myself like in a situation where it was like mercenaries, right? People are like, "Oh, I'm just going to take the ball all the way down the field." It's like you can't. You're going to be on a 2-on-1 situation at the very least. What I think is cool and does resemble Rocket League is everyone can be goalie, right? So like if you get back, you're goalie, and it transforms you into goalie instantly. And I
I
think
love
that
the animation.
yeah,
You
with
find
like
the
the
gloves.
hands, and
Hmm.
also the art style is really cool. Like this is a very cool game, and there's not a whole lot of like I know that we're getting EA Sports on Switch 2 now, and we got 2K on there, but like this is a cool indie game that like is it indie? I don't even know what the hell an indie game is anymore.
Uh, at least partially. I think they published it with Kepler.
Yeah, okay. So like smaller dev, but it's an online sports game that like I think could find a home on Switch too. Uh where it
Mhm.
would I think it would translate very well. Um so like the gameplay mechanics are really deep and interesting. I find myself going back to it, but man, if it had like a single player season mode or something, Donovan, I probably would play it a
Yeah.
lot more. And like this is like their season is all based on cosmetics and crap. And like I guess you'll be able to unlock other things down the road, but like for what it is, I'm quite impressed with it. Like it's the
Mhm.
gameplay and the design is very impressive. The community's kind of toxic already, and
Of
like
course, yeah.
I've only won one game, which is frustrating. But the game I won, it was because the goalie on the other team was own goaling, like just kicking the ball into his own net intentionally because like he was mad and like it's the temper tantrums of teenagers and kids or whoever's playing this game. Like I've seen it in Rocket League as well. Like griefing was a problem in
Oh
Rocket
yeah.
League, but usually you get booted for doing that. Like this game, it has a mercy rule. So like I think it was 3 goals in a certain amount of time, and then the game just ended. So my only win came off of that, which was lame. If you make one mistake, people get really pissed off. And if you're new in this game, like it's interesting because we talked about it with Quake in the past. Like the barrier to entry for Quake is rather high for a newbie. But Quake, at least you can play it single player. This is like you're on a team of 2 other people, and if you make one mistake, they just start trolling you, and it's like, yeah, that kind of sucks. And yeah, it exists in other online games, but I think that's going to be the game's biggest challenge is actually fostering a better environment to learn how to play the game. Now they do have a pretty in-depth tutorial with like challenges and stuff, so I do recommend trying that out. But yeah, it's one of the most interesting sports games I've played in a while, Donovan. I'm like, it's got unique gameplay mechanics and it's pretty fun.
I like Rematch a good bit, but it is a high barrier to entry. It is a hyper competitive game. It's extremely punishing when you do make a mistake, which is very easy to do. Playing goalie is really hard because you're like in that defensive position and people are on that fast break, they got momentum, and you just got to pick which side you're diving towards, and you have about like 0.75 seconds to have that reaction when they kick and you jump. And sometimes you just jump left and they kick right and they just score, and it's like, well, we're down 1-0, and it's hard to, sometimes that's just the final score of the game. It's really tough.
Well, I played a lot of goalie growing up, man. It is a
Mhm.
stressful position in real life. I
Yeah.
I would say baseball pitcher, like in major leagues, hockey goalie, and quarterback, and soccer goalie are probably some of the hardest positions in any sport because like you are the last line of defense, right? And if you make a
Yeah.
single mistake, you're done. Me, I'm an aggressive keeper. So like I go when you're running at me, I'm running at you. I'm trying to close off whatever angle you're going to have on me. But that
Yeah.
leads to these infuriating chip shot goals.
Yeah,
Where
they
they just
can
go over
skip it
you.
right over your head.
And you're just
Yeah.
like, "Oh my god." So there's this like you're right. You have like half a second when you see them on a break and you know that both your players are behind them, right? So they're not going to catch up. It's you and maybe two other players running at you and you have to make a decision. Am I going to stay back here and guess, to your point, Donovan, like left or right? Or am I going to try to cut them off? I almost always try to cut them off, but to your point, you look so dumb when you miss. And like,
You do.
and it's just,
It's like really shitty.
it's just like, oh man, I feel bad. And like, I'm always spamming, like, I'm sorry. But that's like, just like in Rocket League, they use it sarcastically. Uh,
Exactly. You'll give up a goal and people are like, thanks, thanks, thanks.
yep.
Yeah, it's tough. It's punishing. And honestly, I like it, but I kind of fell off early because of that. Because it really doesn't feel like there's a way to play it casually. Like Rocket League, I know obviously it's hyper competitive. RLCS exists. But in my like prime Rocket League days, when I didn't know what the fuck I was doing, I could still just like drive laps around the map and like sometimes accidentally get a save or accidentally be in the right spot at the right time and just tip the ball in and score and like win half my games. Like you cannot do that in rematch. You will, if you're just running around, you will just get destroyed
Oh, yeah.
brutally.
No, you simply
Um,
can't. And like, you do have to rotate though. Like, and I found myself like,
yeah.
look, historically, I'm not a striker. I'm not an offensive player in soccer, so I don't even think like an
Mhm.
offensive player. So I'm pretty bad at shooting in the game or whatever. I haven't gotten a goal yet, but I really do enjoy like the defensive mechanics and the goalkeeping mechanics. I'm gonna get better at ball handling. I'm gonna keep playing the game, but like it won't have any kind of similar longevity that Rocket League had in my rotation. But I do think it would find a good home on Switch too.
And I think it's got a decent chance of doing that. I believe Sifu came to Switch eventually. This game just launched season one. Would not shock me if down the road, season two, season three, they're like, hey, and the Switch version's out simultaneously.
Yeah. But you know, like it's a new burgeoning platform, and this is obvious. It's a more graphically intensive game. I think it would be a good showpiece for the Switch too, honestly. And it's like I don't know, FIFA doesn't, FC doesn't look great this year on Switch too. So, and honestly, I'm just tired of playing FC and FIFA. I haven't really. That used to be an every year game purchase for me back in like the early 2000s, but I've fallen off of FIFA and whatever the hell they're calling FC now. But yeah, rematch, slug clap, interesting. Think it should be on Switch too. Tom, we gotta break this down. What the hell's going on
Yes.
with the Pokemon card situation at GameStop? GameStop is
Yes.
GameStopping again? Are they back to their usual hijinks at GameStop?
GameStop's game stopping, but also I think the Pokemon Company might be Pokemon Companying, and that is a very terrible combination of factors to have. Because when either of those companies are on their bullshit, it's pretty unbearable. So let me set the scene, right? So Pokemon has like long done events that required you to like go to a physical place, like since the DS era, or even the Game Boy games. I think some of the later ones did this, like when Game Boy Advance, where you go to the store, Target, GameStop, usually one of those two, and you will scan a code or be given something, and you'll get a Pokemon in game, right? And Diamond and Pearl, that's how you got like the Arceus event, right? And you could only do it if you went to a GameStop or you had Action Replay. But that was like the barrier to do it. And this was a thing that existed throughout like the 3DS era. Pokemon X and Y did it, Sun and Moon, and they'll give you a shiny Pokemon, which for those who don't know, shiny Pokemon are like incredibly rare, alternate colored versions of Pokemon. It's like 1 in 4,096 odds to like find one naturally. Um, and there's just these special things that they've done. But in the 3DS era, and then especially in the Switch era, they started doing just online mystery gifts, right? Where you could just open your game, connect to the internet, hit the receive mystery gift button, and it would just bloop. Here's your shiny Charmander that's got like cool moves that Charmander can't usually learn or whatever. And you would just have it, and that was it. You going about your business. And for the first time in several years, they decided to do another like in-store limited Pokemon event for Scarlet and Violet. Um, you go into GameStop, you get one of these cards, like I've got right here. It's for shiny Koraidon and Miraidon, which were the legendaries in Scarlet and Violet. Um, Famously shiny locked, which is another thing Game Freak has been doing the last few generations, where like the legendaries just don't come shiny at all. It doesn't matter. You can reset your game a million times; they'll just never be shiny because reasons. They don't want you to have fun, I guess. Um, but you go into GameStop, you get one of these cards, you redeem it, and whichever game you pick, you get the legendary for the opposite game shiny. And within a day, this became a shit show. They immediately ran out of inventory at every GameStop in the United States and in other territories. People were selling them on eBay at scalped prices, 20, 50, $100,
Jeez.
and nobody had any answers, right? So it was like either you got them on day one, which I was able to get one. I went to get the new Pokemon TCG set. They had them, and the next day they were out. And it's just become another case of like, why are we doing this manufactured scarcity thing, right? Where it's like these are codes for a digital product, where you could very easily distribute an infinite number of. In fact, you have for other events. So yeah, there are a lot of, I think, rightfully so sour Pokemon fans who have been like, "Hey, I would have liked to have this cool thing for this game I love, and now because like scalpers ruin everything, I can't." And like people are trying to sell them to me on eBay for $50 when they're supposed to be free. The Pokemon Company, can you do something? GameStop, can you do something? The Pokemon Company obviously very famously cares very little about criticism and will repeat bad habits over and over again. And GameStop obviously is just annoying to deal with in pretty much all forms these days. So GameStop put out a statement this weekend where they're like, "Hey, we got more codes. It's 50 a store." And people are like, "Really 50? That's going to be gone in 30 minutes when your store's open." And then GameStop was like, "Hey, wasn't our call." Some people are like, "Okay, so that means it was the Pokemon Company's call." But then you've got people who are like, "But is GameStop just being shitty because it's GameStop and they want this because people are lining up at their stores?" People have been begging Pokemon Company to switch and just make this a digital distribution event. It's just been a frustrating event all around, but this has been like an ongoing thing, I'd say, the last week or so in the Pokemon community.
Yeah, GameStop appears to be kind of throwing the Pokemon Company under the bus here because they're like, Pokemon has given us a limited number of receipt codes, approximately 50 per store. GameStop is committed to distributing every code we receive,
Yeah.
and we commit to providing more to fans if Pokemon makes additional codes available. It's just funny to see brick and mortar retailer struggling to distribute digital assets.
And that's the other thing people have brought up is that retailers, even GameStop under their other names in other countries, have been distributing them differently. So here in America, they give you this physical code card. It's got the code on the back. I don't care if people see it. I redeemed that shit already. But like in other territories, they're just putting it on your receipt. Like you're just buying a thing and they just put it on a receipt and it's an infinite thing. There's no limit. So people are like, why aren't you doing that? And again, it's just like no answers. And it's hard to know what the truth is because GameStop specifically over the last like 5 or 6 years has taken on this like we're your friendly neighborhood game retailer. Like we're standing up against the big bad companies. We're selling the Game Pass codes at $20 still. Definitely not because we already have them and they say $20 on them. So even with this, they're like, they're like, we're not, we're doing our best. We're gonna give out every single code that we get from the Pokemon Company, like because we're here for you. Which a lot of it's just bullshit. And, it's
And then they just turn around and sell them to scalpers anyway.
Yeah, that's my thing. I'm like, what's really happening is people are going into stores, being like, "Hey, buddy, can I get 15 of those?" And the 19-year-old who works at the counter doesn't give a shit's like, "Here, take them."
Yeah.
And the guy's going and selling them, or people who work there or selling them. I'm sure is happening in a lot of cases.
Yeah, I
Um,
would say so. If I were at
yeah,
the GameStop, especially the one over by Canton Center, David, where it gets robbed every
Yeah.
week, I'm gonna
Yeah.
just be like, sure, take whatever you want. I don't want to get shot.
yeah.
Uh,
It it just feels like there's a lack of accountability all around for this, and the likely conclusion is that a lot of Pokemon fans are not going to get this cool exclusive thing, and it's going to go away, and they're just going to be left holding the bag because of poor practice
that
from
sucks, man. And
Pokemon
this
and
is a
GameStop.
problem specifically in TCG, where like fights are breaking out at Target parking lots over TCG drops, and now like,
Yeah.
but this is especially weird.
I walk to my car so fast whenever I get Pokemon cards. Yeah, and this is like it's just for Scarlet and Violet. Like this is like the mainline,
Yeah,
flagship Pokemon game. Probably the swan song event for Scarlet and Violet because you got to imagine Gen 10 reveal is around the corner.
yeah,
Like I mentioned, Koraidon and Miraidon, they're shiny locked, which is the thing Game Freak deliberately does so that you can't get them shiny without hacking your Switch in game. So anybody who's wanted them, this is like your only way to do it. You can't go back and try to, just grind it out. Like this is a one-time only thing that they will not bring back. So people I think are rightfully frustrated. And they have done the issue again is like they've done digital events before. They just did all the other legendaries from Scarlet and Violet, the like Chinese mythical ones, through internet distribution. Pokemon Pass was created in 2019. It's a mobile app where you just go to a GameStop or a Target, and your phone's like, "Oh, you're at GameStop or Target. Here's your code," and it just generates it on your phone. Why aren't they using that? I think they discontinued that app a couple years ago. So it's like you've put in place methods to make this easier for everybody and fair, and you're just not using them. Just not fun. Full scarcity.
doesn't sound like they're doing much of the power to the players thing in this situation.
No, no, it's power to people who either line up early or have a buddy that works at GameStop.
Yeah, I don't know about that. Yeah, I will say just from a finance standpoint, like the collectibles revenue at GameStop is like one of their fastest growing divisions now. So their
Yeah.
pivot, their pivot to being more a physical game store, it's kind of working. But this is an
I mean,
example of how it
they're
sucks.
eating this up. GameStop's eating this up. Like, don't listen to any of the like solemn, statements they're putting out. Like, people are tripping over themselves to get to GameStop as early as possible to
Yeah,
get a thing. Like, they love this. They're eating this up. Yeah.
it
They'll
doesn't
do as many
matter.
50
It's
code
it's
drops as they can.
this is the whole problem with the scalping environment. To the company that's selling to the scalpers, they made their nut, right? They got their money. They don't have to worry about it. It's not their problem anymore. It's Big Bad Pokemon Company didn't give us enough keys. It's like, how did you distribute these, GameStop? And they're kind of a black box when it comes to how they operate these days,
Yeah.
which is shitty. That sucks because, like you said, this is probably like the last big thing that's going to happen to those games,
Yeah.
which is unfortunate. But yeah, not surprising given the history of the Pokemon Company and GameStop.
Mhm.
But yeah, hopefully something comes of that. Maybe something good will come of that. I doubt it.
The hope
Uh,
is that Pokemon comes like, hey, we're going to distribute these digitally. Just sign on this weekend and you can get one for free. That'd be the cool thing to do. They don't always do the cool things, so we'll see.
so, you know how we had Tokyo Game Show a couple weeks ago, and we mentioned how Nintendo doesn't go there. Now, there were Nintendo devs walking around TGS. I saw Sakurai. He stopped by, and I think he was at the Square Enix booth playing Dragon Quest. He was like checking out Dragon Quest at Square's booth, and he went to a couple other booths. I think he went to Capcom, and I don't know what he was playing at Capcom. Can't remember. Anyway, he was around, but like Nintendo famously does not attend or exhibit at Tokyo Game Show, but they did do something the week after called Nintendo Live, which was held at Tokyo Big Sight, which is like another convention center, actually closer to the megalopolis that is Tokyo. They had a Mario Kart tournament, like an esports competition. And I put it in the Mario Kart channel in our Slack. This stage was massive. It was 24 switches, or Switch 2s, all lined up horizontally. And the broadcast was fun, man. It was at like 3 a.m. on a Saturday, but I caught the VOD, and high level Mario Kart World gameplay, like competitive Mario Kart World gameplay, is really fun to watch because these are folks that have the best path mapped out in their head. They understand how to grind, wall ride, like shortcuts. And they also had Bear and Jordan Kent doing the commentary. So they had very knowledgeable people about the game talking about these shortcuts. I think it's interesting given how dead the Smash esports scene is right now. And I know there's community events happening still, but like Nintendo, they're not going to say the word Smash Bros. Ultimate ever again, I don't think. So like for them to like actually be doing something fun with Mario Kart World in an esports way, I think is cool. The production value was really fun. It was like an invitational. International attendees from all around the world all came together. So you had like Korean players, Japanese players, Chinese players, Americans, Europeans. I think there was a French guy who won. But the thing that reminded me is that this is a game of randomness, man. Like you could be the best player on earth and something bad will happen to you and you will lose in Mario Kart World. And that's just as true as in the esport variety as it is when you're playing with your friends online, or like when we're streaming it with our staff, usually on Fridays. I wish they would give a fuck about F-Zero because that's such a better racing game. And that high-level F-Zero play is outstanding.
Did you see the other two games that were featured in Nintendo Live? Wasn't Mario Kart World wasn't the only tournament. We had Splatoon 3, which is still kicking, and Dragon Drive, fellow Switch 2 exclusive, was there. Much hype.
Much hype.
Yeah. I didn't catch the Dragon Drive tournament, Donovan.
Damn.
And I'm also kind of done with Splatoon 3.
It's getting a little long in the tooth.
I did not like the battle, the 3-team battle.
Splatfest thing, yeah.
It didn't work. It rarely worked. It was like I'm playing two of the same, like it would be two of the same team versus one team, or I don't know, man. Like sometimes it would be three of the same team fighting each other. It was like, this is stupid. I feel like they need to move away from that and back to just 2 teams or maybe 4 teams. I'm really interested to see where Splatoon goes from here. But to your point, like these are games, I'm not saying Dragon Drive, but these are Dragon Drive, it's a marketing thing. But like Splatoon is fan service. The fact that they're still doing Splatoon tournaments in 2025, that's fan service. It's wildly popular in Japan still. But Mario Kart World, man, that was hype. That was actually fun to watch. But at the same time, I'm like, if we want to call this esports, like, okay. It's esports adjacent.
They still need to step up on their promotion and I think incentivizing players, because honestly I don't know if I would have known this was happening if I didn't have notifications on for Nintendo, which I have because I write for a gaming website, but otherwise I don't know if I would have even known this happened. And I think creating a prize pool would probably incentivize a lot of talented people to participate and give this some more eyeballs, I think.
And like add some sort of in-game thing around it, like when RLCS is happening, like it tells you in the game that it's happening, and there's usually some sort of a cosmetic, attached to it. But like, if they care, which is a big if they care about more esports events around Kart World, it might be the time to like kind of steal the Dota 2 Battle Pass idea and like create an in-game economy that funds the esport, right? Or like allows you to like, hey, you're gonna get this, maybe not a skin, but like a costume, like there's just so much they could do. Taking inspiration from other esports to, I think, make this bigger, to your point. Like, because the first tournament, I went on Nintendo of America, it was happening at like midnight on Saturday. It had like 300 people watching it. I'm like, for Nintendo YouTube, anything? Like, we're talking like the same channel that hosts the Directs.
Yeah.
It was like sitting there with 300 concurrent viewers. I'm like, this is not right. Like, this should be bigger than it is.
Do you guys think that there's like some sort of legal or financial liability thing they want to avoid? Because they just are so allergic to putting like cash dollar prize pools and stuff? I know we joked that like you could win a controller and stuff, which they really did. But like, is there like a just a thing that they don't want to get into? Is there like a can of worms they do not want to like open by saying, "Oh, you win $1,000 for first place," or whatever the amount is?
I think it's a twofold thing. I think yes, they don't. They're a corporation, and they're only going to do stuff like this if they think it's going to get them more money, not less. So they're not really they're not a charity handing out money like the Capcom Cup or Tekken World Tour or Riot Games.
Any of these games, yeah, that just pour money into their esport.
Like, I think Nintendo views this as marketing, which is why Dragon Drive was there, right?
Yeah.
But like, you're not going to get taken seriously as an esport until there's that kind of money. So it's their motivation. Like, what is their true motivation here? And I think it's to sell more games. I don't think they're not like, oh, gee, let's support the community. And it would be, I have to mention this. Like, part of their reticence, Donovan, is definitely born out of what happened to the Smash community in the last 5 years. Like, you know, they elevated, I'm not going to name names, they elevated certain content creators who ended up not being the best people.
Good people. Yeah.
And I'm not saying, I don't want to judge the entire Smash scene, because there's some really good people in the Smash scene. But, like, there's a stigma attached to Smash now that wasn't there 10 years ago when Reggie took the stage and, you know, they had remember they had like tournaments during E3, right? And they were broadcasting those, and they had the Nintendo versus Twitter account, right? Like they kind of were going more all in on esports. And then they looked around and they're like, this community is kind of awful. Let's not, you know, where like, it was cute. They did like a father, son, or like a family tournament too. So it was like, you had like moms and dads and like, you know, or like playing with their kids, like on stage together. So that was cool. They definitely want to make it more family friendly. And this is very much a Nintendo fan event, David. It felt like Space World in a lot of ways. I was looking at it and I was just like, man, I want to bring this up. Like, I know everyone's sad Charles Martinet is not the voice of Mario anymore, but he's been elevated to that term of Nintendo ambassador, right? He did some ambassador work this weekend. He had like it was like his own stage where he was doing photo ops and videos and like selfies with people and stuff.
That's cool.
They had so many people in line for it in Japan that they had to do a lottery to meet Charles Martinet.
Wow.
Like, that's how big it got. And like, it was so cute just seeing all these people like, I got to meet Charles Martinet. And it's like, you know, like we haven't really seen him a whole lot lately. We haven't heard from him a whole lot lately. So it's nice to see that like he's not just being put aside and like mothballed away. Like, they're celebrating him and his work at Nintendo, and they're embracing him. Like, he was at their fan-facing event, right? It wasn't the new voice of Mario, it was him. I thought that was cool. Like, just seeing like and there were a ton of photo ops. Like, there was they had like Animal Crossing stand-ups and like all these different like areas where you could take photos with random characters and stuff. It's definitely more fan-focused, but I think they did one at PAX one year. It was like Nintendo Live at PAX. So like, I hope they do more of these. And I think having esports be a part of it makes sense instead of being the whole thing. But yeah, it seemed like everyone had a really good time there, and it was safe. Because the previous Nintendo, I think it was 2024, it got canceled because there was a bomb threat at the on the event, which is crazy that there was a bomb threat in Japan, and that's why that Zelda concert.
Oh, was that Japan? I thought that was at the. I thought it was like a PAX West thing.
No, it was in Japan. The Zelda concert had to be held in like an empty auditorium because of that. And it's great. You should watch it on YouTube. But like, I feel bad for those musicians. They were gonna have like a huge crowd, you know, and celebrate the amazing work that they did on Tears of the Kingdom. Like some of those songs are amazing. But yeah, like, it's good to see that they were able to do this. Everyone had a great time. It was safe. And yeah, you know, maybe someday Nintendo will have a game that's actually worthy of a true esports push. But for now, it just reminds me of like when Nintendo would do a Smash tournament and it would have items on, right? Like Like it wasn't like the competitive scene. Even when they tried to embrace the competitive scene, they still didn't do it the way that the community was doing it. But yeah, like I do think that they have battle scars from Smash that have led to them not going all in on this stuff. But for what it was, I recommend watching the Mario Kart World stream because those are 24 of the best players in the world. High level Mario Kart World play is really fun to watch because it's crazy. The amount of shortcuts, the strats, the wall rides into a grind, back into a wall ride, like jump timing when you use the feather on a couple levels so you can shortcut. That was all on display. So I thought that was really cool. But yeah, I want to go to Nintendo Live someday. It looks cool. Maybe we'll see. But yeah, I would probably go to the Japanese one. I don't know what I think they were at PAX. They had a booth at PAX this year, but it wasn't crazy. I think it was just Pokemon and Kirby. It was like similar to what they showed at Gamescom. But yeah, just continuing the trend that I think we're gonna see more conventions over in Asia going forward, and I think that's probably a good thing. Speaking of Asia, there was a rumor over the weekend, and you know me, I tend to pay attention to Nintendo news a little more than the average bear. Obviously, I own stock in the company, so I have a vested interest in seeing what's going on there. And I mentioned it earlier, Nintendo's a historically very litigious company when it comes to defending their copyrights and their intellectual property. So last week, Sora 2, which is a video generation platform from OpenAI, dropped. And people started doing what they always do, making weird shit and posting it to Twitter, right? So we had several really weird Mario character videos popping up, and like Kirby with a machine gun, like messed up stuff, right? And a politician in Japan actually started this rumor, saying that, oh, Nintendo has spoken with Japanese politicians about regulation of generative AI. And instead of waiting to hear from Nintendo about this, many of our colleagues in games media, specifically the Nintendo news websites, all ran with this story, David. They had a single source, which was a rumor being spread by a politician in Japan that then got aggregated on Twitter, right? And then 3 degrees of separation from the actual source were being cited. And it was the story was that Nintendo is actively lobbying in Japan for generative AI regulation. Nintendo came out yesterday. We're recording this on Monday the 6th. They came out on Sunday the 5th, kind of late at night in America, so maybe early in the morning on the 5th. And they said, no, this is not true. This is a false statement. They said, contrary to recent discussions on the internet, Nintendo has not had any contact with the Japanese government about generative AI. Whether generative AI is involved or not, we will continue to take necessary actions against infringement of our intellectual property rights. So that's what they had to say on the matter. I hit up Nintendo PR last year when you remember like Instagram shipped some like generative emoji thing. No, it was like stickers.
I remember Apple doing it. I remember Instagram's chatbots.
They had they incorporated Meta AI into.
Okay, I do remember the Meta. I remember Mark Zuckerberg talking about this. Yeah,
they integrated Meta AI into IG, so you can like generate GIFs in it. And like someone came up with like it was like Luigi with a machine gun, and like all these things. So I hit up Nintendo. Yes. I hit up Nintendo PR, and I was just like, "Have you guys seen this?" And it was like I sent them. I think this was Midjourney, which is that image generation platform, right? It was Kirby flying into the Twin Towers, and
that's the one.
Yeah, and then there was also Luigi with a machine gun. It was like an animated GIF on Instagram. I was like, are you guys okay with this? And they sent me a very similar statement to what they tweeted out this weekend. And I saw Daniel Ahmed, who is, one of the more reliable financial analysts in the video game space, from Nico Partners. He tweeted out that like a lot of companies are experimenting with generative AI. So I like implying that Nintendo's not just ignoring it entirely. But it's been at the core of my critique of generative AI for years. Is that what is your source material? How are you training these models? And are you compensating the copyright holders for the use of this stuff? And the answer from OpenAI is almost always, it was available on the internet. All we did was scrape the internet for these things. Or, oh, it's on the copyright holders. Like Sam Altman said, it's on the copyright holders to tell us to remove their things from our model, which is the weirdest terms of service I've ever heard of. It's probably illegal. So this is not Nintendo. Like, Nintendo's not starting a fight with OpenAI here, right? Like, they're not. And, we mentioned it a few weeks ago with that the Pokemon theme song being used in an Ice video. It feels like Nintendo's trying to not pick a fight, which is kind of rare for Nintendo. They love to pick a fight. They love deploying their legal ninjas. So it makes me wonder, like, is it possible that they see some merit to generative AI, that they don't want to cut that off entirely? But at the same time, Nintendo is always so late to adopting technology, be it online play, right? Like, or whatever else. It's like, what is the future? What is the future relationship between Nintendo and these AI companies? Because a lot of fans are hopeful that Nintendo will be one of those companies to stand up to the AI platforms. But so far they haven't. And I think that's kind of interesting. Because these AI companies have a lot of money. They have a ton of money. And Nintendo's a much larger company than it has been in the past, but they're still kind of minuscule when you compare them to Apple or Microsoft or Meta or Tesla or, OpenAI. OpenAI is, I think, the largest private company in the history of the world. They're valued over like $500 billion now, and they're still not publicly traded. And they started as a nonprofit organization, oddly enough. But, yeah. I find it interesting that they're so cautious right now about fighting here. The Pokemon Company put out a very innocuous statement saying, we don't approve of the use of this. But it's like, okay, you don't approve of the use of this, but why didn't you sue ICE?
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, Nintendo, you want to defend your copyright. Why aren't you suing OpenAI? Like, are they putting together a case right now? Like, what's going on, behind the scenes? Because when it's another Metroid 2 remake, boy, are they quick to strike that down, right? It's a ROM website, which honestly, yeah, it's piracy. They're very quick. And even in the past, they were quick to come after YouTubers. So it's like, where's this Nintendo that is always suing? What are they doing right now in this space? Are they just collecting data? Is there a lawsuit coming? Or do they see some merit to generative AI? Because, I think about all the animated GIFs you see of Nintendo IP, right? Like Luigi Death Stare. That's monetized on Tenor and on Giphy. They don't get a cut of that. They haven't sued Giphy. Is there some sort of they see a benefit to being parts of these platforms? Like, hey, at least we're trending. But there's got to be some kind of sense or rules to it. Because they're a family-friendly brand, and people are doing really fucked up shit with their IP right now.
I was going to say there's a difference between the Luigi death stare, which is something they created, and Luigi with a machine gun.
Mm-hmm.
I'm surprised they're not being more aggressive just because I feel like if they're not aggressive, companies, people like ICE, they're just going to keep doing this.
Yeah. And the people, I don't want to broadly generalize them, but I'm going to. The people who are so quick to, defend AI, they don't know shit about copyright law or intellectual property rights. And it's similar to the grift that we saw in the NFT market, 4 years ago, where, people are like trying to digitize assets and be like, oh, well, I own this now. And it's like, no, you don't. That's a screenshot. Like, you don't own anything. Nintendo didn't really do anything about that either. So it's just, I feel like they're either slow or they're being cautious here. And I find it odd that they're being so cautious.
This has been like this has been like the ongoing conversation since like the AI boom started, right? Like everybody was like, finally, these litigious entertainment companies, Disney, Nintendo, the ones we love to hate, like whenever they like sue a fan for like $10 million, like now is your time to shine. Like be the on the front lines against this like AI trend. And since then, it's just been kind of quiet. Like Disney's had a couple of like lawsuits with like very specific like uses of like AI, their properties, and Nintendo too, but like they haven't taken on like OpenAI or Midjourney. They haven't shut down like a massive like AI firm or anything like that yet. And people have just been kind of waiting. And I think there's arguments for all sides, right? Like they could just be waiting. We've seen Nintendo do it before. When Pal World came out, everybody was like, "Well, lawsuit's coming tomorrow. Like I'll give it 2 weeks, and that'll be off the Steam store." And it was quiet for so long. And then like randomly 8 months later, on some random weekday morning, Nintendo files their lawsuit against Pocket Pair, right? And they're like, "Oh, here it is. Okay, it took them a while, but lawyers, companies, that a lot of this stuff does move slowly. So maybe a random like day summer 2026, we'll see a lawsuit against the government for the ICE video that's going to be a year old at that point. Um, but also, yeah, maybe internally Nintendo's like, let's figure out how we feel about this whole AI thing before we like publicly take a stance against it that we can't take back. Like maybe like let's see if there's any way this can be beneficial to us before we like plant our flag in the camp against it. I think both of those are very possible outcomes to this.
When you think about it, this is the sort of response we've seen from other parties as well. Like when the Trump campaign uses a song at a rally that isn't approved, you'll have the band just say, "We didn't approve that." But there's no other response to it.
And then,
Sure.
So it seems kind of weird.
This is kind of tangential to this story, but like you brought up Trump, he is like forcing settlements with tech companies. You saw YouTube settled with him over banning him in 2021 after the January 6th insurrection attempt. Like, you're seeing Apple kissing his feet. You're seeing technology companies like kind of bending over backwards for this administration. I am disappointed that Nintendo hasn't made a move, but I do agree, Donovan. Like, I think they might just be gathering information because their lawyers are very good. And when they do show up with a lawsuit, it's usually has merit to it. It's not a frivolous, stupid thing. Also, other thing I think is going on here, David, like, they don't have the resources of these other companies. They don't have the money on hand. And it's like, do we really want to pick a fight with this $500 billion company in the year that we're launching a system at incredibly low profit margins? Probably not. Like, it's not like, Epic Games, when they sued Apple and Google, it's kind of similar to what I'm talking about. Yes, Epic Games is a massive company, right? They're valued somewhere around 20 or 40 billion dollars. Apple's like 3 trillion. Microsoft's like 3 trillion. They have more cash on hand than some nations, right? Like, so they can keep you in legal hell for a really long time. And I think that Nintendo is careful about that. And I think their lawyers only shoot when they know that they're going to hit. But it's obvious, David, like, generative AI large language models, right, they're training on us. They're training on Shacknews. I see them scrape your long reads. Like, we at Shacknews are actively being scraped right now. And we have copyrights on everything we post. But it's like, am I gonna sue OpenAI? Like, it could bankrupt us. They could easily bankrupt us. So it becomes this like very dystopian statement that I'm making here, that like it's really hard to defend yourself against the Wild West that is generative AI right now. And like, David, I'm sure your books too, Stay a While and Listen. Someone has scraped that. Like, I could probably get a summary of Stay a While and Listen on ChatGPT right now. How?
Right.
How is that possible? They didn't ask you.
Right.
They didn't ask your publisher. They didn't ask you. I know you self-publish. But like, it's this move fast and break things philosophy of technology. They've run circles around regulation. There is no regulation. It's already out there. And it's like, it's not on Nintendo to pass regulations. It's on the governments to do something about this. But none of them are doing anything, especially here in America. Like, they're just allowing this to go on. It kind of speaks to the situation we're in right now here in America, that like it is deregulation and it is corporate crony capitalism. And I just think Nintendo's like, this is a very big thing. And if we just are trying to sell Switch 2s, I think that's kind of how they're acting right now. They don't want to like AI bros buy sneakers too, right? Like that's, I think, part of it. Like Michael Jordan famously said that about Republicans. He's like, Republicans buy sneakers too. So it's like, I think there is an element of that where they're trying not to piss off the wrong people, but it is disappointing. But I'm not like, I was more disappointed in the media outlets running with the false story than I am with Nintendo taking their time here. But I do appreciate Nintendo at least clarifying it and providing a statement. But it got out of hand this weekend. Because it's like a game of telephone in games media these days, man. Like, one person says one thing, another person says another thing. It goes from one politician says Nintendo something to Jaboofer Jones going to his blog and posting something that's completely false. And that's a whole other issue.
You can tell this was important to them because we know that Nintendo's approach more often than not is to just stay out of it and not say anything. Like, let the rumors go, let it fizzle out, and then, we maintain our silence and mystery. So for them to very quickly come out with a statement, and then for that statement to start off with, contrary to recent discussions on the internet, which is not how they talk or how they write, this was important to them. They wanted to get out and make sure that they were very clear on the facts on this one. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, and we're seeing it, man. Like, it's already happening in video games. Generative AI is being used in the development of video games. It's not impossible that Nintendo may do it as well. And I think that it's possible. They might start using these tools at some point, or they may see some merit. So they're not going to like just straight up say up and down, no, we're not supporting this. It's a weird time because like a lot of laws don't matter in the United States anymore. At least it feels like it right now. And at a time where we desperately need regulation of these companies, be it the energy solutions, the treatment of clean water or water sources, air pollution, like all the things going on as a direct result of the AI gold rush are not being regulated in a proper fashion. And I think it's going to create more problems. And the lack of action from certain companies is a problem. But I also think it's like, I don't trust any of these tech companies. Because in 2021, they saw the trend was to shit on Trump, and they did. They all banned him. What happened? What happened in the 4 years since you all were so holier than thou from your high chairs on the internet, right? Like Apple banned Trump, Google banned Trump, Twitter banned Trump, Facebook banned Trump. And now they're all settling with him? And I think he's suing the New York Times for $16 billion. I think that like some of these companies are acting scared and cowardly. It's just disappointing. It means that they're just blowing whichever way the wind blows. And when they can kowtow to liberal philosophies, they do. But right now, our country in the United States is dominated by conservatives. So they're serving their corporate overlords right now, and you get shit like Tim Cook handing pieces of glass made in Kentucky to Trump on literally a stand made out of gold, which is insane. But yeah, I hope that Nintendo's silence on this topic and them having to state that doesn't mean that they're not going to defend their IP. They say it right there. Like, we're going to defend our IP. And I understand the hopeful feeling on the part of media. Hey, maybe they can help us. Maybe they're going to, like, Don, you said it earlier, maybe Disney and Nintendo will be the ones to save us here. I think it's more likely that AI companies are going to start buying copyright holders.
Yeah.
I think that's more likely. And that's going to be anti-competitive and all those things. Speaking of anti-competitive,
Segue.
Before we go, this is console news. This is not necessarily Nintendo news, but it might be news about a third party coming to Nintendo devices. There are rumors, David, once again, that Xbox may stop making hardware devices, be it consoles, dedicated consoles, and go third party.
Yes, I've heard this rumor.
Did you write about this in like 2016 for Shacknews?
Yeah, 2016 or 17, one of the two. Like, Xbox is just everywhere. They don't need a physical console anymore. Yeah.
We've been saying this for like 9 years. And I mean, it seems with the whole cloud gaming thing, just tangential to this story. Apparently, Microsoft is experimenting with a cloud gaming solution that's going to have ads in it. So it's like, sorry, bros, I have to watch this Burger King ad before I queue up with you in COD. But this is where we're headed with Microsoft. I've been on like several podcasts talking about the Microsoft Activision Blizzard deal and how it was going to be bad for consumers. And boy, howdy, last week, basically it was like the conclusion of that statement. What, Game Pass now costs, the whatever tier costs $29.99 a month now? Phil Spencer, in front of God, Jeebus, and the FTC, said that the Call of Duty Activision Blizzard acquisition would not lead to an increase in Game Pass prices. He said that 2 years ago, or 3 years ago. And here we are. It's like 200% more expensive than it was when he said that. They're full of shit. So I don't know, like, Microsoft might be the leakiest company in all of tech, man. Like, we get these embargoed Microsoft stories. When I get an embargoed Microsoft story, I know for a fact someone's going to leak it. Because it is like the leakiest, who they trust. And these Xbox insiders, the people who are like, oh, I am an Xbox fan, or I'm the go-to person here at Jaboofer Central. If you need to know about Microsoft news, follow this guy because I don't adhere to any embargoes. It's like, okay, guys, someone's leaking this from Microsoft, right? This is just kind of floating out there. Even though Sarah Bond just last year said they're working on the next generation of Xbox hardware, right?
That was this summer. That was
this
June
summer.
2025.
Sorry, my bad. That was like 3 months ago. She just said that.
They're partnering with AMD, for the next Xbox console.
So, like, I'm not surprised that this is happening. But what was the point of the acquisition? What was the point of buying Activision Blizzard? Why buy Activision Blizzard if you're not even making exclusive why? What was the point of this? It was a one-time benefit on the revenue side. And guess what happened? Call of Duty sales are down year over year. Gee, why are they, Asif? Why could they possibly be down, David? Game Pass! Game Pass led to less revenue for this giant behemoth of a game. It's almost like Game Pass has been deflationary this whole time, which it is. Yep. And this is what is most insane. Is Sarah Bond at TGS said that they made $5 billion from Game Pass revenue annually last year, And then it was profitable. And then a week later, they increased the price of Game Pass. Again. It's like, what the hell is the strategy over there? Because it's such a mess. It doesn't make sense now. It costs $360 a year to have this Game Pass tier that you get COD. And I said it at the time, when you have to split the revenue across time played, right? All these games, I'm sure some of these games get upfront fees for putting their games on Game Pass, but afterward, it's all a revenue split, kind of like Netflix Diamond, where it's like, how much did you watch this show versus how much did you play this game? So if people are buying Game Pass, and it's essentially an EA Play, Ubisoft Plus COD thing, what indie game is benefiting from Game Pass now? Like, barely any? Like, maybe you get a little bit of PR bump from it, and like, you hear, we've talked about it previously, like Microsoft, X amount of players played this game over the weekend. But we didn't sell that many copies of the game, but people played it. It's like, okay.
It seems like a case-by-case basis, because even in the indie space, I've seen, like, I believe it was Pocket Pair, the Power World does specifically. I saw their PR guy, like, sword and shield out on Twitter a couple months ago being like, Game Pass was great for us. Like, Power World wouldn't even gotten this big it was for Game Pass. But then I've seen other people, I believe somebody at Larian was like, people lose a lot of money on this. So it definitely seems like even the devs themselves have mixed feelings about it.
Yeah, and I get it. Like, if you're a small dev and Microsoft comes to your house with a dump truck and says, hey, we're going to give you all this money if you're a day one Game Pass game. Sure.
Yeah.
But, like, the lack of transparency at Microsoft is troubling here, because I can't have an informed opinion on their hardware division because I don't know what their profit margins are, because they won't tell us. The other thing we don't know how many Xbox Series whatevers they've sold. I can tell you to the quarter how many Switches have been sold, how many Switch 2s have been sold, how many PlayStation 4s and 5s have been sold, but I can't tell you how many Xboxes have been sold. Why? Because it's a terrible number. That's the only conclusion. Corporations love to beat their chests like they're Donkey Kong and Bonanza when he's about to power up. But like they're not. They're not saying shit. You kneecapped your own franchise with COD, right? Like they straight up chopped themselves off at the knees. And now they have to increase prices. Which is literally the opposite of what they said in front of the FTC. And how many idiots in our industry cheered for Microsoft against the FTC? Like 80%? 4 out of 5 people were like, I think this will be great for gamers. You should resign, Lena Khan. How dare you? How dare these people call out Lena Khan at a time like this, where we need more regulation than ever? And the idea that Microsoft is so bad at managing IP, Quake Champions, that, like, we are sitting here, like, I could go down a list, David. Starfield did not hit like people thought it would. Like, you could talk about the ZeniMax deal. What was the point of that? What was the point of acquiring ZeniMax if you're just going to be a third-party dev? What was the point of acquiring Activision Blizzard if you're a third-party dev? What was the point of any of this? Rare. First time they really caked their pants was with the Rare acquisition. And they mismanaged Rare repeatedly. Like, what was the point of this? When they bought Playground Games, what's the point? You just shipped Horizon on PS5. Microsoft Flight Simulator's coming to PS5. Why do this? Like, what was the point? So you could become a third-party developer? You could have just been a third-party developer. You didn't have to do all this. It was anti-competitive, and they were trying. They were trying to beef up their portfolio. But it's obvious, like, they view cloud and Game Pass as their future. And at the current price, we saw it. Like, Game Pass, how to cancel Game Pass, that trend exploded. It went, like, parabolically higher last week. So clearly the fans don't like this. And if that's the only platform you owned right now was the Xbox Series X, would you be happy with what you've gotten this generation?
No, not compared to the PS5. No.
No. Like PS5 has bangers. Like amazing games that they let their studios take time to craft. In some cases you get a control, but other like and then there's Destiny 2, which was obviously a reactionary thing. You know, Sony bought Bungie because Microsoft bought Activision. And now EA is being taken private. But like, what was the point? No one's asking that question. Like, what was the point of doing this, Microsoft? Because all I can see is that you fired a bunch of devs, you took advantage of a sexual harassment story, or like horrible behavior, racism, and all sorts of shit. Like, people like to forget why Activision was acquired in the first place. It was because people were calling for Bobby Kotick's head after all that news came out. Microsoft was being opportunistic. They weren't being the white knights. And like so many people spun it that way. And it was just bullshit. But now it's like, where are these idiots? When it's time to admit that Lena Khan was right. Where are they? Dead silent. Not retracting a single tweet they said. Calling for her resignation. Telling her that she doesn't know what's best for consumers. Everything she said came to fruition. Everything I said came to fruition. And it's like radio silence from these hot take morons. Not a word to be said about this now. But now they're focused on, they're going to get out of the hardware business. I don't know if that's true or not.
I was going to say, for what it's worth, I don't believe the story at all. I think there will definitely be a next Xbox console.
They already announced it. They already announced it. They're such a... I don't want to say me too, because that means a certain thing now. But like they're always copying off of someone else's paper at Microsoft. Be it with Macintosh with Windows 95, or fucking Zune with iPod, or fucking the ROG Xbox Ally X with the Switch. I don't know the last time Microsoft had an original idea. Maybe Kinect. But like, all they do is copy off of the other person's paper. So
even Kinect was an iteration on the Wii, right? Like,
sure.
They just took away the controllers.
But that camera tech was internally developed at Microsoft, and it was good. And it was typical Microsoft. Cool technology implemented in a really stupid way. That should have been a webcam. You dominated the Windows. Windows dominates computer operating systems. Why not take the Kinect and put it on top of everyone's computer? Because that voice assistant, gesture-based stuff, all of the natural user interface would have been so much better on a PC than in your living room. And that's the Microsoft shit right there. But then, like, why I agree with you, Donovan, is Sony is going to announce a PS6. We know that. That is going to happen. And Microsoft's going to respond.
Yeah, they'll announce their thing.
But it's like, what's the point in owning an Xbox now? If you have a PC or a PlayStation or both, what's the point?
Little preference, I guess.
Yeah, but Donovan, like, the biggest thing about a console, in my opinion, is the controller. And I have this, and it's plugged into my computer. Like, I don't need an Xbox. I simply don't need an Xbox. I want to play Ghost of Yotai. I need a PlayStation 5. I forgot that Death Stranding 2 is not on PC yet. I need a PS5. I want to play Mario Galaxy 2, the Switch 2 edition. I need a Switch 2. There's no reason to have an Xbox. So I understand why they could get rid of it. But I've said it multiple times. If everything's an Xbox, nothing's an Xbox. And here we are. What was the point of all this? They've spent nearly $100 billion acquiring game development companies. For what? It's so weird. So, like, do I think this rumor's true? I don't know. That's why I labeled it a rumor. I don't know. But I do know that Microsoft's one of the leakiest companies in all of tech. It's crazy how Apple and Microsoft are so riddled with leaks now, David. Apple used to be like ironclad shut. Like, you were going to be murdered if you leaked anything at Apple. Now, I know every single Apple product coming out for the next 3 years. Like it's not even they don't surprise anyone anymore. Microsoft with this. Also, like when we got was it the ROG Xbox Ally down and we got pre-briefed on the price. So we wrote the article, we had a video produced. It got leaked 40 minutes before the embargo. Like, they are the leakiest company in tech. And so is this true? I don't know. But I think it's pretty telling that, like, Kareem Chowdhury's no longer working on Xbox, and he was, like, the head of their hardware division, right? So, like, there are people who have left the company or have moved on to other divisions within the company. And it's obvious that they care more about cloud and Copilot than they do Xbox. They just do at the company. I fear that they are going to set Sarah Bond up for failure here. She's the president of Xbox, so if this is going to be the mismanagement, this is like their Don Matrick moment coming up, they're going to make her take the fall, not Phil Spencer, because he's CEO of Microsoft Gaming now. And Microsoft Gaming's doing great.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I don't know. Anyway, a little bit of a Microsoft rant there at the end. But it's because if this is true, that means all this Microsoft stuff's coming to Switch too, which it's kind of been a drip drop over there. And by the way, still no COD announcement for Switch. It's been years. I think if you're a Microsoft shareholder, you should be asking Satya Nadella what the point of these acquisitions was. Because you have failed again. And like, I don't know. If I ever spoke to Phil Spencer on camera, I would ask him how many Xbox Series X consoles and Xbox Series S consoles have been sold. And if he says I can't tell you, I'd ask him why. Why can't you tell us? Because your competitors have no problem telling us. Nintendo reported Wii U sales. It was horrible. It was like the 3 worst years in 100 years for the company. They had no problem being transparent about it. Why can't you, Microsoft? Because these stories and all the surrounding speculation are hard to base on anything because there's no facts out there. We don't know. We know that Sarah Bond said one thing and then literally the week after they did a different thing. So what is it? Is Xbox Game Pass profitable? Or did you kneecap the largest video game franchise in the history of the world other than GTA? COD. Like, COD's like $1 billion a year company, right? By itself. But putting it on Game Pass decreased the annual revenue. So it's like, we have these like little data points that you can grab at to explain what's going on. But like, what was the point? That's really all I just, what was the point? To be anti-competitive? Because that's true. And like, weird. It's really interesting, though. You look at how Nintendo spends their money versus how Microsoft has spent their money. They thought they could buy their way to winning this console war that Nintendo's not even fighting in. And Sony is lapping them. Like, it's not even close. So yeah, I don't know. If you guys have an idea who are listening to this, let us know why. Like, what do you think? Why? Why did Xbox acquire all these studios if it was just all about going third party at the end? Was there any point to any of this? Think about how many studios have closed, how many devs have lost their jobs. What was the point of all this? And why are we still allowing Microsoft to act like they're even deserving of any praise at all at this point? Anyway, what are we getting Indiana Jones on Switch 2 at some point? That's coming, right?
We are, yes.
We got Tony Hawk. Tony Hawk's on Switch 2.
I think those are the two that have been announced so far.
The crash out when Halo Master Chief Collection comes to Switch 2. That's what I'm going to be here for. But yeah, you know, Nintendo's got its own problems, man. But it's this idea that, oh, they're going to go third party. It's like, okay. Seems like a waste of money. to go. You could have done this without spending $100 billion, Phil Spencer. But, you know. I guess they went down kicking and screaming or swinging, I guess. But what a mess. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Yeah. It's a pretty good show. feel like
Yeah.
we talked about a lot of things. You got something to say, Don? What are you looking at? Something happening?
I was just saying, yeah, I was making sure we hit everything.
Oh, okay. I think we hit everything.
So,
AI. I'm sure Google's AI will enjoy ingesting this conversation to train its large language models. But yeah, shout out. Nice shirt you got there, David. I think you're wearing the official T-shirt of E3. Yeah.
I am.
R.I.P. E3.
classic.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess that's it. We'll see you probably in a vertical video before we see you on a podcast again, because that's the internet these days.
Yeah.
Shout out to Dan Harmon. Apparently, watching Shacknews Instagram reels. So that's a thing that happened last week. But yeah, if you like this, like, follow, and subscribe here. This is also on the podcast facilities. I think you can give us like 5 stars or review us and say nice things about us, and that makes us move up in the podcast rankings. Which, you know, we want to be number 1. I think I'm gonna pull this out of my ass because I'm the EIEIO here. We're the fastest growing video game podcast in the universe. There, I said it, so it must be true. Let's get Zordon, Jabu for Zordon, to tweet it out, right? You guys know who I'm talking about.
I have an idea.
Just say it, man. Apologize to Lena Khan, or I'm gonna call you Jabu for Zordon till the end of time. Anyway, that'll do it. We'll see you next time. Bye bye.